player. Well, hello there. Hi, I'm Tom, and we are finally onto a new edition of Warhammer 40k, the 11th edition. And I've decided to get another entire Eldar army done for it. But this time I'm doing Craftworld Ulthwe, and nearly every single model in it is kitbashed, including a custom Eldrad Ulthran as the leader. I have no idea if this is a good competitive army this edition, so let me know in the comments below. I've basically tried to put as many Psykers as I could into a 2,000 point army. I started building this army before the new edition was announced, and now the new edition is here, I can fit one more Psyker in it. In this video, I'll show you how I kitbashed it all. I'll show you some very simple tricks and techniques to make your army unique.
The army consists of 26 Psykers. Included in the army are Eldrad Ulthran, 3 Farseers, 12 Warlock Conclave, 3 Falcons, 3 Farseer Skyrunners, 6 Warlock Skyrunners, a Warlock, 10 Guardians, and a Wave Serpent, and a random Wraithlord which I've kitbashed as a Seer because they're my favourite models. And why not? To do the Seer, I used some spare bits from one of the Avatar of Cain kits, and the metal head is off a Warlock Titan from Epic 40k. I wanted all of the Psykers to be unique. I've used some of the old metal models and upgraded them. I've used the Corsair kill team to kitbash a unique Seer council. I've also upgraded all of the Skyrunners to give them long singing spears. They look like a lance on the back of a knight. With the Falcons and Wave Serpent, I decided to add 2 massive magnets to the turrets, one to the base of the chassis and one to the turret itself. I applied lots of super glue so they don't come apart. This will make it easier to paint, and also I can remove them when transporting the models, and I can use them to repose them. The Corsair kit is going to be perfect for a Seer Council because it contains some Psyker looking models already. This Voice Guard Wayseeker is basically a Farseer, and the Soulweaver looks like a Warlock, and it wouldn't take much work to convert 3 more of the models into some more Farseers and Warlocks. And I don't know why, but I don't like the Eldrad pose, so I'm going to make my own one. I managed to pick up this print-on-demand metal Farseer and Warlock kit as well. And the size comparison is pretty good. I won't have to do much to make them look like they're the same scale, which can be an issue with some of the old metal models. These 2 Warlocks here are the first ever Eldar models I bought and painted, and I have a soft spot in my heart for them. The new Warlock kits are awesome, but they only come in 2 poses, and they only come with 1 spear and 1 witchblade. I have some of these Farseer kits which are super cheap because they were in the magazines. I got some eBay rescued Skyrunners and some new Skyrunners as well, and I'll be giving all of the Skyrunners singing spears, but they will be modified custom built ones. With each Seer Council I will have 2 Warlocks with spears and 2 Warlocks with witchblades, but if you wanted 4 of each, it's a good opportunity to have some fun with kit bashing. I say an opportunity, it's your only option, apart from buying expensive bits.
This is one really simple way of adding some character to your army, and an easy way to get into kitbashing. Why not kitbash your own weapons? Most Games Workshop kits don't have the weapon options you need to build the unit. Why not sort through your old bits box and try and build your own versions? And honestly, using your imagination to build your own weapons is some of the best fun I've ever had with Warhammer. And if you don't believe me, check out my Ogryns and my Wraith Knights.
Because I'll be using 4 of these new Warlocks in one squad, I want them to all look as different as possible. So I'll have to switch the arms around and maybe use some different heads too. The kit only comes with 2 helmeted heads and 2 unhelmeted heads, and I personally don't like unhelmeted heads. I also thought if I give them unique weapons, then maybe that will make them all look different as well. I have this old Wraithblade sword from my Yandan army and thought maybe that would fit. If I wanted to give them 4 singing spears, I have these Farseers to just use the weapons from. This Warlock sculpt is the one that's supposed to have the Witchblade, and I want to kitbash it to give it a spear in its arm instead of a Witchblade, and pose it how I like the look. The exact same sculpt I'm going to add a spear to as well, but I'm going to put the spear in the other arm, just to make them look different from each other. Boop. Because this spear is on the other side of the body, I can't use the spear from the Warlock kit, so I have to use it from the Farseer kit because the hand and the fingers are facing the right way round. If I use the Warlock kit, the hand would be the wrong way round. And the right arm here already starts at the wrist, so I need to trim some of this arm and hand back. It's essential when you're kitbashing, make sure it works. So this actually has the thumb and the fingers on the right side of the weapon. I trim the wrist and arm to length with some clippers. When it gets to the very short, delicate part, I switch to my knife. And what's the old saying? Measure twice and cut once. So there we go. I've trimmed the wrist down to almost be perfect. This spear is going to be standing on the floor in the ground. So once I've got the cut perfect, I trim it down and sand it down to make it fit flush. With the Corsair kit, there's loads of spare bits on here. I have lots of pistols and sword arms and heads. Yeah, lots and lots of bits that could be added. I'm going to repurpose some of these shuriken pistol arms to add to my warlocks as well. So the back arm here, I'm just going to cut off at the hand and attach the pistol to the back arm where the witchblade should be. Very easy in modification. So again, I'm just measuring it before I glue it in place. Because I'm going to be doing a Corsair Seer Council, I want to take the heads away from that kit and use them onto a different kit. They'll fit perfectly in this official Warlock Seer Council. And then I can use the official Warlock heads in the Corsair Seer Council. And to make this piece fit, I just had to trim a little bit of the neck off. That's my first Warlock kitbashed. It could be a Farseer as well. And here you go, it looks so different to the original model. You have two of these side by side, they'll look very different. Then this squad has to have a Farseer with it as well. And weirdly enough, the Farseer is on a 25mm base, and the Warlocks are on a 32mm base. So I trimmed down the Farseer base and added it to a 32mm base. I want them to look similar, and I assume that's going to be changed in the future. I want to use this hand clutching the runes on the Soulweaver, and this witch staff from the Wayseeker. I'm trying to make a traditional looking Farseer. I don't know why Farseers don't have witch staffs anymore, but... And I'm going to switch the head out with a head at one of the Farseer heads from the Skyrunner kits. And again, I'm going to have to do some reposing. These Corsair kits are all armoured as well, like the Guardians, so it's going to add a lot of character to the Psykers when I get to painting. Just trimmed it down near the elbow and sanded it down. Even though witch staffs don't have rules, I'm going to count it as a singing spear. I'm just going for rule of cool when it comes to kit bashing, which is a good plan when you're kit bashing. So there you go, there's another one kit bashed. So here's one of the other warlocks in that council that I saved off eBay, and I'm not changing this one at all. I'm just using it as it is. So there we go, all looking very unique. Notice I haven't stuck any of the heads or weapons in place yet, because it's easier to do that after painting. So on to the last warlock. I'm going to give this one a witchblade, but I want it to look different to the official build instructions. The official build instructions, the witchblade should be on the back arm here. I was trying to work out a way of putting it onto the front arm, maybe pointing at the enemy. So I had these Corsair blades, and what I could do is reposition the wrist and have the blade pointed directly out in front. But it might be a bit fiddly. The hands are the wrong way round again, so I had to use a shuriken pistol hand and switch it with the sword. So I'd be cutting it here just above the fingers. I didn't end up sticking with this, but I thought it'd be interesting to show you the process. There's no harm in experimenting, and if it doesn't work, then change it. So I trimmed the hand away, cut away the handle, so I'm just left with this blade, which I was going to count as a witch blade. So I've trimmed it down to a flat edge, which will make it easier for this shuriken pistol hand and grip to fit into. There we go, almost a perfect fit. Just needs to be sanded down flat. So here's what I decided on. I removed the cloth arm on the right side up to the shoulder joint and added one of the Corsair arms. I think it looks really cool that it's like half armoured and half cloth. The head will be posed, it'll be sort of glancing over the witchblade. Looks pretty cool. And then onto the metal kits. So one of the problems with the metal models is the details can be floppy, like this sword sheath on the back sort of bends in and folds with the cloak. So I want to remove it because it looks so janky, and I found this blade from the Corsair kit that's almost the perfect match. So I'm actually going to butcher this metal model by trimming off and cutting off the sword sheath, and I'm going to add this plastic one on top. So what I'm doing first is just getting the pose right. I was working out whether I could just leave both swords there, so it's like he's got two weapons on his back, but I don't think it will work. So I need to cut the scabbard from like the hilt downwards off. So I've got some old clippers, some like crappy ones that don't work anymore, but they'll be good at shearing metal. I'm going to leave the handle on the metal witchblade there, and cut around the sort of hilt of it. I'm just removing the sort of scabbard and blade of the metal sword. And it will look bad, please bear with me. It's also going to be covered up with the new plastic piece. So I started at the bottom and just started shearing it away. I'm trying to follow the flat folds of the model, doing it in little pieces. Just shear a little piece, check it, shear another little piece. You don't want to go too deep into the model. And thankfully with the rest of the metal models, they're actually pretty good. There was a few floppy swords, and I had to use some clippers to sort of bend the metal into shape, but this was the worst of the lot. So I'm going back and measuring regularly. So here is, I've trimmed as much as I can, and I've even filed it down with a metal file as well. And then, so I've kept the crossguard of the sword and the handle, and I'm going to remove the top part of the sword, the donor sword here. I want to keep this rune in place, so carefully cut around the rune to the shape of the hilt and crossguard of the sword, and then I need to trim some of the back of the plastic off as well. There's these runes on the back which won't be visible, so I've trimmed them on the back, trimmed it flat, and I'm trying to now sort of custom fit the plastic onto the metal. There we go, that's almost perfect. And you can see here, after I've glued it in place, most of the gaps are filled. It doesn't look out of place. And you can't really see any of the sort of sheared off bits of metal because I've sanded it with a file. So with the other models, I was actually happy with how they looked. I just had to reshape some of the spears and then cut off the tabs off the bottom, or slaughter bases or whatever. So I did the same with the Farseer, and what I want to do, I want to make it look a little bit more blended together. So what I'm going to do is add some more of these ribbons coming off it. So I'm going to use this brass sheet, which is so thin you can literally cut it with scissors. It's good for making purity seals and banners and things like that. So I cut off some thin strips like this, and then I sort of shaped them and cut them to size. I'm going to dangle them off where the soul stone is on the blade, or just above it. You could also use these, I've got these spare bits from Wraithlords and Wraithguard. Probably a little bit too big for this, but anything like this really add to these old metal models. And I ended up cutting out a soul stone from another bit of a kit and stuck that in place. Looks pretty good. Definitely worth the effort. And then on to the Corsair Seer Council. The first one I started with was the Wayseeker. So I'd already used the arm wielding the staff and the head off this kit. So to kitbash it into a different Warlock or Farseer, all I'd need to do is add a singing spear or witchblade to it. So I used this shuriken pistol hand, like I showed you previously in the video, as a donor arm. Cut it off at the wrist, and cut this Farseer singing spear off at the wrist too. Sanded them smooth, and then glued it together. It's a perfect fit. And this outstretched hand is perfect. And then I just need to add one of the Warlock heads from the Warlock kit. But you could also run this as a Farseer as well. And the heads, I think, the Farseer head was too big, but the Warlock heads are just about the right size. With the other models for the council, I used the Soul Weaver, the Felarch, which is the leader. The other two were the ones with dragon scale capes on. I've attached a singing spear using the same technique. And then I've used this arm to attach it to a witchblade, and then used the outstretched arm from one of the Warlock kits. Adds a bit of like cape and cloth to it, which is very iconic from the Warlocks. It's a very dynamic, cool pose as well. All the cloth and ribbons are perfect for the look. And these are the finished kit-bashed ones. They're not finished painting yet. You see the helms are the right scale. And all the blade things on the backs, the capes, the fur, they all look the part actually. It was definitely worth taking the effort to make these. And they'll look amazing when they're finished. Then on to the Skyrunners. So for me, the Skyrunners are a very cool model, but the spears to me look too small. Like, how are they supposed to be stabbing things from the back of a jet bike? They can't, when it looks like they can't even reach the floor. So I thought I did this as an experiment, and I would just extend the spears to make them look like a lance. And this will help me with posing, because I can change how long the spear is in each, like how far down the spear shaft that the Warlock or Farseer is holding. So after I'd done my first one, I absolutely loved it. So I was like, I'm definitely doing this for the others. So get your singing spear. Thankfully there's one of these in each kit. I'm cutting it along this ridge here, just above the hand. And then underneath the arm, we have all these runes and bracelets dangling down that are actually formed into the spear. I'm going to gently cut around it and try not to destroy all of them. So we're just taking that little ridge out between the hand and then the top. Sand it flat, and that's the top of the lance, or the singing spear. Then we have the hand, so I trimmed it flat. Almost cut my thumb open there, because this is a new blade. And then I'm trimming delicately and carefully around these runes. So I want to keep as many of them as intact as I can. There we go. One of them was lost, but the other one is intact. And then I'm going to drill a pilot hole right in the middle of the hand, where I'm going to put a drill bit. And then I have 2 drill bits here. So the first one is a 1mm, and the second one is a 1.5mm. So I drill it first with the 1mm, and then drill it second with the 1.5. The reason doing this, I found if I did it with 1.5, I was, you can see here I've actually gone through one of them and stabbed myself in the finger, so be careful when you're drilling. But the reason we used the 1 first, the 1.5 was too thick and it was actually bending the plastic. So I do the pilot hole with a 1mm all the way through to the side, and then I go through it again with the 1.5mm. And the reason we're using 1.5 is because that's how thick the shaft of the singing spears is, and I found some brass rod to replace it. If it was any thinner, it'd look silly, and if it was any thicker, it wouldn't fit through the hand. So there we go, that's the 1.5. Now neaten up the hole, and then I did all of these singing spears. Here we go, just drill through to the top of the spear, put your brass rod in here, cut all the brass rod to the same length, clippers. You can get this from any, like, nerd shop. I think it was like a few pound for the whole pack. You put your singing spear on the end, and then you'd have to, when you're ready, super glue this in place. And then on the end, I've used these spare bits from the Wraithlord kit, so it's actually the flamer fuel canisters. So I clip it off, sand it down, and then drill a hole into it and put it on the end of the spears. And there you go. So what I can do is with the hand, I can slide the shaft further. I can slide the spear further up and down the hand on each one and give it a different dynamic pose. So there you go, you have some stabbing into the ground, some ready to charge people down. It's closer to a shining spear. And then I thought maybe you could make some other cool weapons. So I did one with a witch blade, one with one of these wraith blade axes. I've got these wraith blade swords as well. I'm not sure if they'll work, but this is the fun with kit bashing. You can just experiment. Axes would look very cool. But I had to stop the experiment early.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Totos.
Hello, Al. What? Wanna have a cuddle with Daddy?
And here's the coolest model. It's a Wraithlord that I've kit bashed into a Wraith Seer. Hopefully they'll bring out a set of stats for that one day. So it's got Avatar of Cain bits on. So here's the Avatar of Cain spear that I've cut the head off, and then attached the Avatar of Cain axe on the end to make it longer. And it sort of fits the scale of the Wraithlord, having it elongated. And I've added the Avatar hand where the Wraithlord hand would go. And then the head is from Epic 40k. It's a Warlock Titan head, and it fits perfectly. And then I've added a sort of shimmer shield on the left forearm as well, which is from one of the Wraithguard kits. How cool is this hell? I didn't film this, so if you want me to show you how I did it, I'll have to build a new one, which is no problem. And here's the 9 Skyrunners. They look absolutely epic with the long sinking spears on as well. And here is Eldrad. So it's a mixture of the original Eldrad kit and the bottom half of a Spirit Seer, which I had spare from when I did my Aeldari army. Basically from the waist downwards it's the Spirit Seer, and the waist upwards is the original Eldrad. And I thought I'd give this a go because I want a unique Eldrad, and I don't really like the pose of the current one. We're going to start with the bottom half of the Spirit Seer. I'm not sure if this can even work right now. I'm just sort of guessing as I'm going along. And from memory, this top part of Eldrad is separate to the bottom part. So here we go. Yeah, the runes on the sort of loincloth aren't attached. So I can use that to put Eldrad on top of the Spirit Seer legs. This ended up being quite a long kit bash, so I haven't included it in this video. So I think I'll do that as my next video if you guys want to see it. I also need to kit bash another Farseer with the points change, and I think we'll use Corsair for that. I'm going to be doing a painting guide for the entire army as well. So to do a tester, I painted up the Wraithlord. So the scheme's going to be black and grey for the armour, wraithbone, gold, and then pink or red for the lenses and runes. For painting black, it's actually quite easy, and you don't need an airbrush. You could use a sponge. It's a very simple technique, but I'll show it off in another video. So I kitbashed this Wraithlord in one evening, and I think I painted it in a few hours. And here's Eldrad, who's almost finished. I want to add some decals and glyphs and things to his cloak.
And there you go, a full army of Psykers, nearly all kitbashed to look unique. Let me know in the comments below what you think of this army. Let me know any tips and tricks that you use to make your armies unique. Please check out my other videos. I paint lots of armies and do lots of kitbashing. And if you want to support me further, please check out my affiliate link below to Element Games. They sell hobby supplies cheaper than Games Workshop. And if you want to support me further, please consider supporting me on Patreon. You'll get access to my Discord server and see behind the scenes of all my creations. Thanks for watching. We're in the middle of a heatwave in England. That's why I'm sweating.